started. So I want to start first with some intros. I am Destiny. Hi, Leah. Or Lee. Is it just Lee or Leah? There's no on there. It could be a Leah. Okay, I was right. Thank you. I am so bad at pronouncing people's names, so I'm always worried I messed them up. I'm Destiny. I am the Kansas City chapter leader for Tokeativity, and I am based here in Independence, right outside of Kansas City. And then I want the ladies to go around introducing themselves that are on our panel today, and we'll start with you, Ashley.
Hi, I am Ashley. I'm the president of Aydens Alliance. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. I'm also one of the owners of Old Route 66 Wellness, which is, we have 2 dispensaries currently in the state of Missouri, and I'm just glad to be here.
Thank you. Jamie, you want to go?
Yeah. So, hi guys, my name's Jamie Dennis. Thank you so much for letting me join today. I'm really excited. I am the regional manager for Coco Dispensaries. We have 3 dispensaries. We have one in Hannibal, Missouri, one in Chillicothe, Missouri, and one in Moberly, Missouri. And then we also have a manufacturing lab in Clarence that just got passed inspection. So we're really excited about that as well.
All right, Ms. Dawn.
Hey everybody, I'm Dawn, the Cannabis Advocate. I partner with Flavert Academy in St. Louis. I'm St. Louis born and bred. We service Missouri and Illinois patients and getting their full certification process done, application assistance, learning how to grow their own medicine. Since as Missourians, we know we can grow, but Illinois can also grow a few in their homes too. So I help patients learn how to grow in their homes and be self-sufficient, at least with the 5 plants they're allowed. And then help patients here in Missouri with the caregiver process. As a clinician, I get to kind of help patients with that part of explaining how to use their medicine and help, have that conversation with a caregiver they may not be familiar with.
Awesome. Perfect. Last but not least, Miss Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Sherpy. I am part owner of the website safecannahaven.com, a patient caregiver network. Cultivator patient caregiver network, and also now business membership and market coming on here at the end of this month. So we're very excited to be here, and thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, ladies, so much. So today we're going to discuss kind of Missouri-specific RSO or FICO, and we're going to talk about Missouri-specifics, and there's people that aren't really sure what's going on in Missouri, and this is just a great time for us to be able to shine some spotlight on what we're doing well and what we need to improve on. So if you guys would like to get started, Ashley, what is RSO and FICO, and is there a difference between them? RSO.
So traditionally RSO is short for Rick Simpson oil. So traditionally and originally it was extracted with naphtha, which we know now is not good for your body to ingest internally. So the FECO is what we know now to be extracted with, food grade ethanol, Everclear, those types of things. So we use RSO, FECO, interchangeably because we know some people are always going to call it RSO no matter what it's extracted with. So super concentrated cannabis, generally high THC, a lot of cancers. For example, like the estrogen-driven type, you need to start with a more higher CBD, so you can actually do like a second and third runs of your RSO if you're doing it at home, and have that higher CBD content, and then slowly work up to that high THC content of what we know as regular FECO or RSO.
When you were talking about this at home, what does that process look like? Because for those that don't know, here in Missouri, we have caregivers, and caregivers are able to basically grow and manufacture medicine for assigned patients. So that means we can make our own oils, but what does that look like on a manufacturing at home basis?
Yeah, so generally the easiest way to make it at home is in a rice cooker. And that is after you take your plant material and you soak it in. I mean, we use Everclear personally. You soak that plant material for at least 12 hours. And then using that rice cooker to cook it down to that sticky tar consistency. If you have a distiller at home for, other things using other like an alcohol distiller, you can actually do that first and then cook it down in the rice cooker, and it makes it faster, a little bit easier, but not everybody has that. But we are talking about Missouri here, so some you can use it that way, you can make it that way, but a rice cooker is the easiest way to do that, to cook it down to that sticky tar consistency.
And when I think we've kind of talked about this, what does it look like volume wise? Like, how much does a person need to have in material to be able to even get one syringe? Because that's a big issue as well.
Is my son in the background?
So if we break it down to those small syringes that we generally see pictures of, those are 1 ml syringes. Generally, a cancer protocol can call for 60 of those, so 60 grams in a certain time frame. We deal with a lot of terminal patients through Aydens Alliance, so we kind of give them that free education there. But if we break it down, it's over 1/4 ounce worth of flour to get that one tiny syringe. Current dispensary prices, you're going to spend at least over $100 on that small syringe. And that's the most I've ever seen. So that's taking about a pound worth of material to make, 60 mLs. And I've personally only seen that happen once. Generally, you need more than that pound, so more than that 1/4 ounce to get that small syringe. So
that is insane. Dawn,
it's a lot.
Dawn, you kind of talked earlier about helping patients in Missouri and Illinois both that can home cultivate. What kind of obstacles are you seeing because of our limitations and the volume? Like, how do you help the patients and kind of help them navigate that as an advocate?
It is a lot of conversation with what is going to be a realistic dosage amount. And that's where growing your own is really going to be your best route. It's going to take your whole month's allowance. In Missouri, you're allowed, for most patients, to start off as 4 ounces in a month. In Illinois, it's 5 ounces, 2.5 every 2 weeks. That's still, if you get that amount of flour from the dispensary, you're spending so much more. And you still only got a tiny amount. And these cancer patients, of course, can come back. In Illinois, they need 2 certs. In Missouri, they need 2 certs to get dosage increases. But for Missouri patients, if you're already growing that at home, you have that much. I encourage patients to journal how they're taking their medicine so they can justify those dosage increases immediately. You can get a jump up to that amount if that's justified. Let the doctor do their work. But it's just hard having the material. Most have the obstacle of having a living situation where they can't grow. Caregivers may not have the real time to invest in their patients for quality medicine. And if they're not going to have successful harvests regularly, they're not going to have FICO regularly. Or it's so many different pronunciations of it, because when I see it, I see FICO. But it takes a lot of flour to do that, and most patients just don't have it accessible. Even on a patient, taking care of themselves, wanting to have to kind of concentrate. I've been holding on to a bottle of tincture for the longest, and I know it still wouldn't give me full syringe worth if I were to reduce it down to the medicine I really would need to use for the conditions that I really want to use it for. It's not enough material. It's never enough unless you're cultivating, though.
Now, Jamie, do you guys, I've heard that there's some partnership going on, some collaboration in the actual industry. What does it look like from an actual facility license owner to provide that medicine? Like, what kind of obstacles have you been up against, and what is a way that you're working to overcome that?
Well, I think the biggest obstacles that, that we have is, getting product, even the biomass to make the RSO. Like I was mentioning before, our lab just got inspected and passed. So we have trim coming in about the next week or two, and we have an allotment that we have partnered with Casey Cannabis Company, and we are going to be their sole provider to make the RSO or the FICO. And we're actually going to, they have 5 dispensaries, so it will be available in all of their dispensaries. And we have a partnership where there will be no markup for patients. So we are selling it to Casey Cannabis Company, and they are actually going to sell it to patients at cost. And there's actually also a patient program that they do. There's classes, there's all kinds of things, informational, free consultations, all of that Casey Cannabis is doing for patients as well. So we're really excited. I think we're going to be hopefully the first manufacturing lab to be able to get that on the market very soon for patients.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Now you say that you're going to be doing it at cost. Can you disclose what at cost is? Because I think a lot of people were really shocked at what the flower pricing were.
Yeah, I don't have concrete information on that yet. Wish I did,
okay.
But sorry, ladies.
No, that's totally okay. I just didn't know. Ashley had mentioned earlier on some pricing that she's seen in her experience. So I just didn't know if that's kind of around the line that we're looking at right now, but it's totally fine. We'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
And we'll watch for the release of stuff. How have you been able to get the amount of trim that you need? Do you think that there's going to be like a shortage or short supply like we saw with flower rolling out?
Well, we have a pretty good partnership with a couple of cultivations that are about ready to harvest. So I don't think that's going to be any problem. Once that harvest comes through, I think we should be good to go. And then we're on a consistent basis to continue to get that trim and that biomass to continue making products. So as soon as we can get it, I think that it's going to be consistently sent to us from our cultivator. So that's really good.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So, Emily, I think that not a lot of people have heard or know exactly what Safe Canna Haven is. And you get a little puzzle piece of connecting all the dots. What is it exactly that Safe Canna Haven is, and how are you helping us here in Missouri?
Well, Safe Canna Haven started with finding the problem was, when Missouri passed, being able to grow, being able to have caregivers, being able to be a patient. People did not know how to get information and how to get a hold of the opportunity to have a caregiver or anything like that. Well, we have a lot of really talented home growers out here that are growing for themselves. They're helping other people. All they need is a little help to get through the, paperwork about it. So, we create a platform for people to get on there to be able to talk to people who want to become caregivers and help meet each other, in a safe environment. We go through a verification process. There's nobody that is not a legal patient, caregiver, or cultivator on that website. And, now we're joining businesses on the separate side, just to have them know, where to get things. I think communication is so hard in this industry, and we're censored a lot. And, I just want people to go to one place. I know a lot of people who can't follow marijuana groups because of their job, and they have friends on Facebook. And, I just want to be able for everyone to work together. I guess that's kind of how we all are. If we work together, and we can really make a lot of things happen, and make a lot of the people on the ground that are doing these great things, let them, become a caregiver and, maybe be really great at it and become more, just trying to give everyone a chance. So, yeah.
Okay. I love Safe Canna Haven. I love what all of you guys do. What is something that you think, if you could tell people outside of Missouri, outside of our little community and industry, what would you say to them about our industry, what we're building? I know, like me personally, I have, Leah says, I appreciate hearing all of your insights so much. We have a lot of content on our website that is specific to Missouri. Here it is in case that would be helpful to you women and or your patients and network. Awesome. Thank you so much, Leah. When I think about Missouri's industry, I see there's a lot of like issues, of course, but I see that people, like regular people like us that are here, all team together and work to try to make things better. We're not just leaving it for like the industry giants to fix our problem. That's what I would love people to know about Missouri. We're bootstrapping for sure, but I want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you guys think of our industry that we've built so far?
Well, I come from the Illinois recreational industry. I had a year before. Missouri is my home state, but I worked in the Illinois recreational industry for a year before I came over to Missouri. And I think for me, the biggest thing is just the difference in recreational and medical, the education with it. You know, we take our teams through extensive training, about the cannabinoids, the endocannabinoid system. I mean, we go through the cannabis care system or the cannabis care team. All of our employees have to be trained, through the cannabis care team to really learn about how cannabis affects the body. You know, in Illinois, I mean, you've got people coming in and they're just honestly sticking them on a register. You know, they're not giving them any education. I have a story that happened in Illinois where one of my friends went in and basically, explained, hey, I'm a first-time user. What do you recommend? And from Illinois, someone recommended an RSO syringe. Can you imagine the experience, the first experience of someone using an RSO syringe that has never used cannabis before? They're never going to want to use it again, So I think it's just so important as a Missouri industry, the education that we are doing and how we're really having that patient focus. And, we just really care and we're just really trying to change that stigma through education. I have just seen that so much and that's what we've got to do. We got to just educate.
I agree with what Jamie said, that Missouri has gotten so big with having those direct to this demographic group. Ashley attests to it. We worked with her before. I worked with her before because it's about the kids. If it's something that is about children, I've worked with veterans before. State Canna Haven, we talk, and it really is about whatever demographic that we relate to the most. We give our absolute all to it, because it's important that they know how to have access to it. We try to be in every part of St. Louis City and where places that everybody don't want to be. And we were doing certifications at a low cost because we want to provide that to those that we already know are most, have been disenfranchised and still using it. Just use it right. Did you know you could use it right? Did you know that you can make this your own business? You've already been doing it. Learn how to do it correctly. Right. Refine it, clean it up, correct it for your mom, for your dad, for your uncle, and really make it your own, where you could teach someone else. Each one teach one. That's where we specifically, each one of our groups that I know are represented today, we all each try to do that with kids. Yes. Learning how to talk to other kids about their medical use. That's education from the parents and speaking to other Canna parents like Ashley and myself about our kids' cannabis use.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of patients for us to help, but there's also a lot of people that want to help. Like Dawn said, there are, these handful of people in each, a different group, a type of people that want to help. And so I will say that about Missouri is most everybody is kind and most everybody does want to help. And so if we can give them that education and, get them on the right foot to do it safely and, like Dawn said, correctly. So
let's see. I get so anxious. I know everybody always says you can't even tell you're anxious, but I get so anxious. I've got my list over here, so let me just check my checklist. How do you think, especially you, Jamie, with you being between multiple states, how do you think Missouri is like starting off? Do you think that our struggles, our issues that we're having have been kind of normal compared to other states that have legalized, or do you think that we're struggling a little bit more?
I feel like we're struggling a little bit more. I mean, it was on the ballot in 18. The first dispensary, I think was opened in 2020. And so, people started getting their medical cards right when it passed. And then it was almost a year before dispensaries were open. So now people are in the renewal phase already, and they haven't even, been able to go to a dispensary, but maybe for a few months. So I think that we're behind. I mean, there's 192 dispensaries, and there's about 60 dispensaries open in the state right now. So I know that COVID, played a big part in it, that that wasn't good on anything. So I know that, but also, I mean, you look at cultivation too. Like, it was really slow with people getting flower, and people became home cultivators, which is great, but that's kind of honestly hurt the dispensaries a little bit, just because people were waiting so long for dispensaries to open that they learned how to grow it themselves. So again, I think that we're making headway for sure, but I think it's taken a little bit more time than everyone anticipated. But again, COVID involved, so that's been some of it too.
Okay. What do you, Ashley, you guys with Aydens Alliance, you talked briefly about them. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys do at Aydens Alliance, and then how you guys are working and need FICO, RSO. Just talk to me about that.
Yeah. So basically with Aydens Alliance, we help people of all alternative medical therapies, not just cannabis, but being that is literally what saved Aiden's life. That's what we started with. And that's mainly what we do right now. So we help people of low income, special needs, disabilities. We help veterans as well. If they need a doctor's appointment, we have a couple of physicians clinics that work with us to give us very, very low priced visits or exchange for sponsorships as well. So we help them, schedule their doctor's appointment. We help them with the state process, uploading their documents. Sometimes we help them pay those state fees. All children are covered through Aydens Alliance, so we cover all of their doctor's expenses and all of their state expenses, and usually the home cultivation expenses for that parent. Because unfortunately in Missouri, only a legal guardian can be the caregiver for that pediatric patient. And sometimes it's a lot for that parent that's already caring for that child 24/7. So we try to give as much support and education there as well. With our patient caregiver sponsorship program, we're working with the industry, so dispensaries, cultivation, manufacturing, to sponsor a terminally ill patient and caregiver set. So we have several of those patient and caregiver sets already. We're offering the sponsorships for 3 months at a time since they are terminal. And then that legal cultivating caregiver can, provide that medicine, the RSO, to that patient, or whatever it is they may need. Everybody that's terminal has a different goal. Some people just want to be able to enjoy the time that they have left. Some people want to, try to kick it in high gear and get more time. So it's individualized for those patient caregiver duos.
Okay, awesome. Have you, as how to word this, as a parent to a special needs child that uses cannabis, have you faced difficulties with getting the medications that they need? Are you guys, I'm not sure like if you guys use FICO regularly or not, but are you guys struggling as just patients even?
Fortunately, we have the space, the resources to cultivate Aydens medicine for him. He doesn't use RSO regularly, but he does use it whenever he gets what we say really bad, when he just needs, a lot of rest. And so he just needs a lot of THC and a little bit of amount. He doesn't really take anything by mouth. He gets fed by a tube. So, RSO is a great way to get a lot in a little tiny amount. There are things that we still currently either can't get or can't make ourselves here. So that is a struggle. There's a nasal rescue spray that we use for him instead of a Valium rescue that stops the seizure instantly. So those kinds of things I'm looking forward to being able to go to the dispensary and purchase for Aiden. So, but he's 8 now. He's been using cannabis for 6 years, and it's truly the only thing that has ever helped him.
That's incredible. Dawn, what are some things that this specific type of medicine in your experience has helped with? Like, what kind of conditions, how has it changed people's lives? Like, why is this medicine so important to have a whole panel to discuss? Like, why is this needed?
I've had several experiences with dealing with patients either severely ill or terminally ill over the past 20 some odd years that I've been caregiving for folks. And because of the absolute drastic difference in just comfort of life or end of life comfort care, before this was legal, back in those days, I'd helped a friend of mine with his mom's terminal cancer diagnosis. She decided she wanted to start smoking again. She actually had quality of life. And it was right after losing my own mother to breast cancer and not being able to offer her something like that. Currently, you have a lot of different ways, even with the amount of flower most folks have accessibility to. I encourage them to use every part of the plant. Don't throw a piece or a part of it away. You got stems, you got sticks, that is tea. I personally use it in my tea, and I reuse it as much as possible with all the other awesome herbs that come from our planet. So if you do those things to really control your diet, change your lifestyle, if that's something that you're really looking towards. That's usually the hardest part for me as an advocate and a caregiver, is the tough love conversations of, you do realize you need to change your diet. You do realize you have to take more care about how you're taking care of yourself. Are you eating things that are literally feeding that cancer? That's the hardest conversations. You can give as much FICO to a patient if they're not changing anything else. So it is a holistic approach, really, in how you approach patients with their whole idea of this care. If you want it to just be for comfort levels, okay. These are your best ways to do it. You got edibles, you got tinctures, you put it in your bath, you find some suppositories, let's freeze you some coconut oil. Let's do whatever it is that we can figure out at home with the things we can order on wherever to get you comfortable. And it's fun. I'm a DIYer. Like, my mama was a crafter, so it's still that type of thing, and people can find their ways of having fun at home doing those. That's the one thing this quarantine, I think, taught us, is to be a little more secluded and self-sufficient. So I encourage patients to really think about not just growing your cannabis, grow your food. We all have to really be aware of where we are today. Our lives are nothing like it was a year ago. Nothing like that anymore. And we really have to take our health seriously. So that's everything we ingest in our bodies. And if you want to make sure that you know, as a Missourian, we have an awesome setup. Take advantage of it. The other stumbling block is having somewhere at home to grow. There's a lot of 420 friendly landlords I want to see come out the woodworks. That's what I want to see. Too many people own property. Be a 420 friendly property owner. You can let that patient grow, and you let that property continue to work for you, and you help patients as they step into self-sufficiency and maybe save a little bit of money because you're not busting their heads, as long as they pay their utilities and don't tear your property up. There's so many opportunities for this, to really take care of yourself and help your family and have fun at the same time. I just try to get them excited about that part.
That's really interesting to hear. I wouldn't have ever thought even further than just coming up with dosages and treatment plans into their diet and like a whole life approach. I would have never even considered that.
It's fun to think how many places you can put and use cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
In your hair. I'm a chronic pain sufferer myself. Migraines, topicals are my best. Topicals are my best friend. It is really about wherever you can put this awesome plant that was really made for our bodies with our ECS. We definitely should be able to use it for every piece and part. And if there's some fun that's to be had in the meantime, awesome.
We only have a few more minutes. Quick talking about using all of the plant. Did y'all see something going around the other day where people are using the roots? What is that? People
You
are
can make a tea from it as
the
well. You can make a tea from it. You probably can blend it into smoothies. Like every single part of this plant, if it can be just rinsed off because it's roots, every part of it is ingestible in some type of way.
That is crazy. I would have never thought to keep my roots to do anything with them. And I saw that and I was like, holy freaking cow. There's literally nothing to waste. Oh, here comes Leah. Hang on. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you telling us about the roots?
Yes. No, I heard you guys saying that. I actually had a question for the panelists that's a little bit off topic, but it definitely has to do with Missouri. Is that okay? Or I don't know. I don't want to push in here. First, I just wanted to tell all you ladies, thank you so much for sharing. And I'll try to be as brief as possible. I was familiar with some of you, and I know I had some of you guys on Facebook already. But while you guys were doing this, I went through and got everybody on my Facebook. And thanks to Tokeativity's impeccable tagging, I have you all on Instagram now too, I think. But I was familiar with Coco's brand and was familiar with you, Ashley, and your work with Aydens Alliance. And as a fellow Canna Mama advocate, I appreciate that so much. So thank you. And thank all of you for being the force in the beginning of this Missouri industry. It's just so inspiring to watch. For those of you that don't know me, I am St. Louis native also, and lived in Missouri until 2009 when we had a SWAT raid in our home in Columbia, Missouri. That served as a very difficult situation for us, and within 3 months we moved to Portland, Oregon, where my partner and I helped found New Approach Oregon in 2013, which served as what drafted and ran the Measure 91 campaign, which successfully legalized adult use cannabis here in 2014. And during that time, I founded a group called Moms for Yes on Measure 91. And am now hoping to be doing some work in the Missouri industry, as we were also involved with some of the work that was done there to get the legalization measure passed there. So I've been trying really hard to keep my thumb on everything there because it's a huge piece of my heart there. And I really want to see it succeed. I think Missouri is a really big deal because it heartland of the United States. I feel like what is going to happen there definitely stands to set precedent for other states in the heartland and, serve as an example in so many ways. So I just want to let you all know that I appreciate you so much. And thanks for being on this panel. And I don't know how many of you were familiar with Tokeativity before this, but I was the very first featured speaker at the very first Tokeativity event on January 1st, 2016. I've been a huge supporter of them ever since then. I love, love, love them. And I'm glad you guys are all networked in them because it's been hugely both inspiring and comforting, but also helpful for me in navigating the market and the industry as a woman. So they're amazing. So after saying all that, thank you for giving me that time. But what I would love to hear from all of you, and I know that I might be opening a little bit of a can of worms here, so maybe, I guess, concisely, or if you have really strong feelings about it, how are you women feeling about the idea of adult use cannabis legislation in Missouri? Or the possibility of it? I would love to hear thoughts that you have. If you think it's a good idea, if you think it's a bad idea, and if you think it's a good idea, what would you hope to see from a program like that in Missouri?
I mean, I am for anybody using cannabis. I think the biggest stigma is that people consider it a drug. If we keep treating it as a drug, it will always be seen as that. I was always for declassification, to save parents, parental rights, people's rights. I mean, there's people that are still in jail for this. We're moving forward, and there's people still over there not seeing their families for a plant, So how do we fix this? You know, if we're going to lay some ground, let's do it right this time. What did we do wrong in other states? You know, it all starts with the acceptance of it. We accept so many things that are horrible for you. I don't understand why we can't just make the market and make the people fruitful by giving the market to them by, you know, declassifying it. You know, anyone should use it. How you use it, it's never killed anybody. You can't even say that about peanut butter or, you know, anything else. So, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I agree with that. And one thing I also meant to say is, and I didn't even plug my business. I'm one of the owners of the weblog.com. That's why I put that link in there. We have a lot of content about Missouri in there. But one of my most recent advocacy ventures outside of the other work I've been doing for years is that I'm now on the founding committee for the Oregon Cannabis Equity PAC. And we have now a bill in the Oregon State Congress that is specific to a cannabis equity program. And like what you were just saying there, Emily, like, you know, that, you know, one of the biggest pieces of the act is automatic free expungement for everyone, because here we are in Oregon in a mature adult use market that's been going for many years now. And we have, I think, like 200 and something records have been expunged out of the 28,000 that could be. And so that, like you were saying, I think is of it. So that's definitely something I hope to see, you know, be a conversation in Missouri as this rolls out. But sorry to interject that. I'd love to hear what other panelists think about.
No, you're right. I mean, just that alone, they don't even allow testing to prove all the things that it does, you know, and it's all because of this federal law that was wrong in the first place. I mean, so anyway, but.
So I personally able to put in your body whatever you want to put in your body, as long as you are not harming anybody else. So I feel that's my personal conviction. For me, you know, I'm very patient driven. You know, Aydens' dad is a cannabis nurse. We are all about safe use of cannabis. You know, Aydens Alliance, we've helped over 1,000 patients already, you know, just in the last 18 months. So as long as an adult use measure doesn't hurt our current medical program, you know, I think that it's a great idea. I personally don't know how much time I can put toward another campaign because of the last 2 campaigns we did. That was a lot of time away from my family. So, yeah, like I said, I'm all for it as long as it doesn't hurt our current medical program and the patients that, you know, really need it.
I would agree with that too. You know, as being in the recreational market in Illinois before and then coming over to the Missouri market, you know, I just don't want to lose that education. I mean, my experience has just been so different, you know, in both different fields. And I think it's just so important that we continue to train our product specialists or the people that work in the industry to make sure that they really know what they're talking to patients, what they're recommending, you know, those things. That would be my biggest thing. Again, I agree with, you know, all of you that we should be able to put in our body what we want to put in our body. You know, I think it's just definitely making sure that we continue to reduce that stigma through education.
And as far as an adult use, we're not going to get descheduling. I would prefer, of course, descheduling, right? Perfect world descheduling.
Because we like adult use, like even what we have here in Oregon isn't actually like legal. It's just that it's decriminalized to a certain amount for every consumer and so it's still, I get what you're saying. Adult use would be nice because then it gives people the ability to choose what they are putting in their body. I don't think that our current program is a great program to be completely building on. I think that it would be reckless for Missouri to go ahead and do adult or a rec bill right now because ours is such a catastrophe. I hear rumblings from people that are working on bills and trying to get rec passed that are just saying, oh, well, we need to just accept this so we can get our foot in the door and we can make a change. But that's what got us here in the first place.
I think that Missouri is such a critical point to not only the surrounding states that we're touching that still aren't legal, but federal moves. So how Missouri behaves, the example Missouri sets, so far it's been terrible in my opinion, but that's going to affect our neighboring states. That's going to affect the federal descheduling process. That's going to, I mean, Missouri is a key thing and it sucks, but it sucks and it's good all at the same time. So adult rec, yeah, it would be great to give everybody that option. But I think that Missouri needs to be really careful with what they do moving forward, because people of color need to have a place and they need to be taken care of, and wrongs need to be righted. And if that means giving minorities a leg up to any white person, any white man, like, okay, fine, let's talk about that. Parents need to be protected. I don't like the idea of child services possibly getting called on me, because even I'm a legal patient, but I still have to go through those things. Like, there's so many things that need to be fixed before we take the next step. But
absolutely. And I would love just to share, even like just the explanation of sort of what the Oregon Cannabis Equity Act is working towards, because these are a lot of the things that several of you have mentioned, specifically, obviously, on the equity side of things, because if they had been done here in the very beginning of adult use legislation, then we would, I feel like it would make a big difference now. So the expungement is definitely a piece, and we're actually using racially specific language in the bill, which is kind of groundbreaking. It's not what's been done before in all of the other equity programs. Thank you, Don. I want to hear what you have to say about this too. But we looked at the equity programs that have happened in Massachusetts, have happened in LA, have happened in Illinois, and they have chose to not use racially specific language. And so we are using Black, Indigenous, and Latinx in the actual bill's language, and are fully anticipating lawsuits and things like that. But, thankfully for us, we have some thought leaders here like Dr. Rachel Knox and Dashita Dawson and people like that are here helping us, have helped with the drafting of it and stuff like that. But to me, that's a huge piece. And I also definitely agree with what you ladies are saying, is that we don't want to mess up the medical program. We definitely still want to have home grow rights and all of that stuff. But what I see adult use cannabis is, and I'll just slip this in there, is this. I see cannabis tax revenue as being one of the biggest opportunities we are ever going to have to reinvest and invest back and give back to those communities that have been hardest hit by the war on drugs. And that is kind of the way I come for, the advocacy standpoint I come at from it, for there's also a ton of other reasons, as I'm sure you all know, just with legal, actions and stuff like that. But one of the other pieces that we put in it, and Destiny, I'm glad you brought this up, because it's something I push really hard for, is that not only will the expungement count for if they have a cannabis crime, so say they got arrested for possession, so the possession crime becomes expunged. If they had a child endangerment charge or something like that, that also is expunged. Anything. There was a few agencies that we couldn't throw in there, but I wanted to make sure that the Child Protective Services piece was in there, because it holds so many people back from being able to go forward as parents, to get housing, to get education, finish job training, get work, all of those things. Something that now everyone in Oregon can, walk into a dispensary and buy, as long as they're 21. So. Anyway, sorry to me to get on the soapbox there, and I know we're like at times, so I would love to hear what you have to say, Dawn, but I know Destiny is moderating, so. No, I won't say anything else. I'm glad to be connected with you, and I'll follow you up on the interwebs.
No, I absolutely agree with what Destiny said and what you said. There has to be specific verbiage. I've worked as a respite foster parent. There has to be protections for that complex person that's a patient, that's a parent of their own children, and has the heart and the home big enough to care for foster children. Because those foster children, how many times were they pulled because their parents had to grow? Leave those kids with their families. Leave those families alone. Teach those families how to be able to do those things within their household. Get the therapy in there that maybe that breakdown has caused. But to take those children out of those homes, take the fathers away from those homes, the mothers away from those homes. You have foster grandparents, people that are well up in age, past baby boomer, that are raising grandkids and great-grandkids because their grandkids and children are in prison. That expungement, all of that cyclical things that come from that have to trickle back. Like, we want to trickle down back in the 80s. We didn't get that. This is not the trickle down of that. But if you're able to put the verbiage to protect parents, to protect the individual citizens over 21, to be able to just partake of this, then yes, protect those citizens. That's what the purpose is. Law enforcement leaves us alone. Those parents can be good parents. Medication can be medication.
Right.
Can not use it against a parent because they're being responsible. If they're not, that's when you get therapy involved. That's when you go to an elevation and escalation of things. But there has to be, and it relates to every other aspect of our lives, how we interact with people. How do you really escalate or de-escalate that situation? Is it really that serious because they're smoking a joint? Is it really that bad? Is it really that bad? You know, be civil about your parenting. No one parent is perfect, but be able to say, okay, this is what's wrong. And yes, I use cannabis, but I still need help. Mm-hmm. Those protections are important. Black and brown people need that protection to not feel terrified, even as patient card holders, to go into areas of our state, because this is Missouri, and not fearful that where I am in St. Louis, or where I may go in Chicago, into Kansas City or Columbia, and those other parts of town, it's a different conversation. So those things have to be safely put in place and be uniform. If they're not uniform, we're not safe at all. Facts.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see in legislation. I want to be a part of those roundtables where we're trying to put that legislation together, get the actual patient verbiage and find out what the protections is that those people just every day just want to be able to medicate. Granny want to be able to bake her a cake. Can I get a piece of 7-Up cake, Granny? Like, I just want to help you test it for you. That's all. I'll let you know if I taste it in there. You know, I want Granny to be happy about medicating and not feel shameful about it. And really educate on a different level, because these same children coming out of high school can now work in the industry to learn how to use hemp. This is a new industry. Agriculture, you get to build homes. Those places that were being gentrified can then be reinforced in those areas that, you know, were most affected. I want to see that verbiage. I want to see that written down and made a part of that law.
I love that, Dawn. Jess, you want to say anything? Emily?
Y'all said everything.
Yeah, parent protection. A lot of people don't even understand that. CPS, that they can come after you, and that is not fair, at all. So it's very important that, and I don't know how to make it all right, but I know that it's also very important that when we pass things, it's not just made for the people that have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It's for people to be able to make money on their own land. Like, you should be able to build, you should be able to medicate, you should be able to use a plant, and you should be able to use it freely. And until we get it in our head that that is the way it should be, I feel like a lot of people try to make it into, so many laws and licenses, and you can have this and you can't have this. And then they just keep on picking at it to where it just becomes so complicated after a while. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Leah, thank you for asking that question. That was definitely a can of worms, but I'm glad you were brave enough to ask it, because I was trying not to be too conspiracy, let's call the industry out, do an educational, because the Missouri industry is so freaking corrupt, and we're all paying for it down here on the ground level, and it sucks. It really sucks. But like I said, the one thing I want people to know about Missouri industry is we at the ground level are not just taking it. We're not just accepting what the industry is telling us it's going to be. Every single one of you women in this panel right now are doing something every single day about it. And I love it so much. I never in my life felt more empowered than I do in 2021. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for coming. We are definitely over time. There's other sessions. There is speed networking. meet people you've never met before, and stick around because they're giving away the vacation at the end is what I'm told.
Well, it was nice meeting with all of you guys. I've met a lot of you, and I haven't met a couple others, but you're all beautiful. Dawn, I haven't seen you forever, but I always love it when I see you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all being here.
Yes.
Thank
Bye,
you.
lady.
Bye, guys.